4 new characters in 4.1, 2 of them brand new and 2 of them returning, but which one should you be using your Primo Gems on? Neuvillette and Wriothesley, or the returning characters Venti and TAO? We'll be touching on the pros and cons of these characters so you can make a well-informed decision on what character you should be spending your Primo Gems on. First up is Neuvillette, and this is going to be an on-field hydro damage dealer. It's going to be a catalyst character, and it's very similar to a playstyle of someone such as Child. And while this character does have normal as well as normal charged attacks, they have something called the Equitable Judgment. Instead of using normal and charged attacks, you're going to want to use his unique mechanic, the Equitable Judgment. Now, this is going to be used just like a charge attack would be used, but instead of just using a charge attack, you'll start to form this seal. If you complete the seal, you actually will use Equitable Judgment. If you release the charge attack button before the seal is completed, you will just do a normal charged attack. This is very slow to fully encapsulate right away. Unfortunately, at Constellation 0, Neuvillette does not have a way to actually reduce resistance to interruption during this charge time. But fortunately, even though this is very hard to use and charge up with a lot of monsters around you, Neuvillette has a way to basically instantly charge this skill. And this is between his elemental skill and his elemental burst, which will form these special hydro droplets. If you consume 3 of these droplets and pick them up, not only will they heal you for HP, they will also allow you to instantly charge your seal, which is very important because as you're using Equitable Judgment, it will lower your health. This is something that we see with a lot of Fontaine characters where they have a lose health, gain health system, just like the Hydro Traveler does. So the elemental skill is going to do a little bit of damage, but also most importantly, give these source water droplets towards your Equitable Judgment charged attack. The elemental burst is very similar as well, but this time will form 6 droplets for you to pick up, and you want to spread out gaining these droplets 3 at a time in between the use of your Equitable Judgment attacks. Now, we're not talking about the animation time for your elemental skill or your elemental burst, but all in all, you'll be able to get about at least 12 seconds of rotation time on your Neuvillette. And as you does also both increase and decrease his HP, there's going to be quite a few different sets that you can use artifact wise on Neuvillette. One of the coolest ones is going to be that set that gives you increased crit chance whenever you lose or gain health. So not only will you be using your skill and burst to fill up your seal as fast as possible, you also have 2 very important essential passives. The first one is going to be Ancient Sea's Authority, which is going to give you a stack for every different kind of hydro-based reaction you do. This can trigger off of Vaporize, Frozen, Electrocharge, Bloom, Hydro Swirl, and Hydro Crystallize as well. You can have 3 stacks total, 1 from each of these hydro-related reactions, and each of these is going to increase Neuvillette's Equitable Judgment charge attack by a certain amount. His second ascension is going to play off of all of these source water droplets that you can create, as it's going to increase your damage based off of your own max HP, and you'll gain a small amount of hydro damage, 0.6%, for every 1% of Neuvillette's current HP that is greater than his max HP. Neuvillette's gonna have a very easy to use playstyle, and being one of the best, if not the best elements in the entire game, being Hydro, means you can play him with Bloom teams, Vaporize teams, Freeze teams. You'll find a spot for him somewhere, making him a very powerful character for your teams in Genshin Impact. Being a Fontaine character, you have guessed it, Wriothesley is all about balancing your HP loss as well as your HP gain. You can see this with Ice Fang Rush, which is his elemental skill. This is going to put him in the chilling penalty state, and this is going to allow you to unleash more powerful attacks than normal. If your HP is above 50%, you're going to have not only increased interruption resistance, but it's going to buff up the repelling fists of normal attack Forceful Fists of Frosts and increase its damage. But when you use an attack, it's going to consume a certain amount based off of Wriothesley's current HP. So while you do bonus damage above 50% HP, Wriothesley will slowly drain his own health, and eventually you will hit under 50% HP, and you will no longer get that bonus damage to your Forceful Fists of Frost normal attacks. But thankfully, his first Ascension passive, There Shall Be a Plea for Justice, is going to buff up your charge attacks as long as he's below 60% health. Yeah, that's below 60% health. So if you use a charge attack below 60% health, it's going to increase the damage of that charge attack and then also heal Wriothesley for 30% of his own max health. go into your elemental skill stance, do a bunch of normal attacks that do bonus damage, drain your HP down below 60%, use your charge attack, and then heal 30% back up to 90%, which makes a very easy to follow gameplay style. Self-damage, self-heal, you have it all there. His second ascension is going to help this out as well. While you're within that elemental skill form, Ice Fang Rush, you're going to gain stacks of attack percent, 6% per stack, up to 5 stacks total for 30% attack bonus all in all. One important thing to know about his elemental skill stance is that if you do swap Wriothesley off of the field, you will lose that stance effect and the cooldown will not reset. So once you activate it, you need to keep Wriothesley on field. And as far as Wriothesley's elemental burst goes, it's nothing super crazy or in-depth, it's just a ton of cryo damage. So Wriothesley himself is going to be this cryo on-field driver character. You can utilize him in a lot of different teams. I'm going to be trying to maybe play him in a fridge team or just a freeze team in general, as his normal attacks aren't going to proc shatter, but his charge attacks will. I know you have questions probably about Mel and Wriothesley, and well, sadly, we just don't really have a Yelan or Xingqiu Pyro equivalent yet in Genshin Impact that can apply so much element. It would allow a character like Wriothesley to reverse melt a lot of his own cryo attacks. If you try to use melt with him, which you can do, a lot of the time you're going to be melting the Pyro character's attacks in the vast majority of circumstances, and not really Wriothesley's himself, which could be a very good thing. Just keep that in mind if you want to build a giant team where you plan on melting all of Wriothesley's attacks. That's just not really going to happen. When it comes to reruns, Venti is still the Animo god of crowd control. No one comes close to that, not even Kazuha. There's two things that Venti can do that even Kazuha says, I can't do that quite as well. The first one is the crowd control, the big elemental burst, suck engine hurricane, as we like to call it here. The other thing that he does do is he also has Storm Eye, which is an Ascension talent that allows you to generate energy for other characters in your party. Whatever the element is that you're swirling with his elemental burst, you're going to regenerate 15 energy, not only for Venti, but also the matching element of those characters in your party. So while Kazuha does do amazing things with increasing the damage done by your party members, Venti can help you in Abyss floors where you've seen it 20, 30, 40 monsters, it feels like sometimes in some of these Abyss floors that are scattered about, spread out. Venti can just throw his elemental burst near the middle of the platform, suck them all in, and you can combo them out with so many different elemental reactions. It's not even funny. That's the other thing about this elemental burst, is still to the day it is the fastest activator of swirl. This is that we actually have access to in Genshin Impact. So if you already have Kazuha, maybe go ahead for a pass on Venti. However, Venti still does have some use case scenarios, specifically with crowd control and energy regeneration, that I wanted to point out to you, even at Constellation Zero. Now, speaking of rerun gods, we have the rerun god of single target DPS, which is going to be Hu Tao. Hu Tao is a character I still use to this day. I can't get rid of her. Anytime they bring out difficult content that I just want to go right on through, Hu Tao is there to cheer me up. Hu Tao sports the ability to give herself a giant attack buff. She is a pyro character, and she works extremely well with the stat of elemental mastery, meaning that not only does she scale off of HP, but in crit chance and crit damage, but elemental mastery for her vaporize related reactions as well. We also have the reworked double Hydra resonance, which is going to further increase her own max health, which also increases her max damage as she does gain attack based off of her HP during her elemental skill stance. If you're looking for giant numbers on single target enemies, or maybe even 2 to 3 enemies at a time, Hu Tao is a magnificent there. Just build a Xingqiu and that's going to be good enough. But if you also have access to a character like Yelan on your account and you get that double Hydro resonance and double Hydro application, you can vaporize basically every attack with your Hu Tao, and this is going to be a ton of damage for you. The one downside for Hu Tao is that you do have to get used to playing at low amounts of HP, and a lot of players do like to use a shielder in this party as well. One of the long-lasting standards for this was Zhongli, but we also have access to Layla, who I personally have been using over Zhongli in this party, as not only do I get to vaporize with my Hu Tao now with all that Hydro application, but every once in a while I will freeze an enemy and then I will melt them with my giant Hu Tao charged attacks. It's a very nice thing to do, so if you love the spooky season, you love the ghosts out there, check out Hu Tao on the rerun banner. No matter who you pick, you're going to have fun with that character. I want to know which one you want to pick down below, and I'll see you guys again in the next one.